I'm from a small town in Minnesota, and ever since I was 10 years old, I've wanted to be an actor. In junior high, my English class went and saw a touring production of Midsummer Night's Dream, and it totally changed my life, and I was a fairy every Halloween for like 5 years after that. I had found this person who was this crazy old man that lived 400 years ago, whose poetry made my brain feel really enormous and made my heart and my spirit feel really full. And I could feel the potential when I was reading different scenes, even things I didn't understand. And the turning point for me in my life so far has been coming to graduate school in San Diego. And I'm just coming to the end of my time here, and one of the most important things I learned was to make work that is mine. I also need to make stories that I connect with and produce them the way I imagine them. And I fell in love with the simple ideas that are outlined in the beginning of the Passion Planner. I have a big list going of things I might do or projects. They're kind of everywhere and they're huge, and they have like all of these ideas from when I was 16. And I just keep adding like, oh, a film about this, a play about this, and they sort of sit around and bum me out. But in the Passion Planner, there's such a clear description of how to take something and break it into steps. And I chose one of my projects off my someday list and broke it down. And then I realized that each of those steps was still like a marathon. And then I broke it down again, and then I broke them down over and over again until I arrived at these little steps that a person could actually do in one day. And I get to write them in on a day and then check them off. And I knew that my project had to be something that I could do all by myself, depending on where I am, and that it's very mobile. So when I graduate and move to a bigger acting market, I can still work on something that grounds me in my vision and makes me feel like $1 million. The project I picked off my list was to produce a web series about Shakespeare. I think a lot of people have Shakespeare anxiety because he's introduced in school in a really stressed out way. I struggle with perfectionism, and I always have. And I have a lot of these big dreams in a lot of areas, and this big perfectionistic voice saying, oh, that's not worth it, that's too difficult, you can't do that, you don't have the resources. And somehow I became an actor, which is something that is like, you can't do it right. And it only gets better the more you are your totally flawed self when you do it. And there are still days and weeks that are, I feel like I lose them to like this perfectionist downward spiral. And I can turn back to those weeks in my Passion Planner and like nothing's written down, nothing's crossed off. Like it's like I just am a big unhappy face. And now when I flip to a new week, it's like I get a fresh chance to practice breaking down the possibility of planning to succeed, which feels a lot better than just desperately hoping like all of that crazy stuff gets done. And in that way, when I achieve like 3 little things, I can see that the huge things are possible. They're totally lining up and they fall into place the more I check them off. And that gives me like wild confidence.